like you said, everybody has a story to tell, and the nation is richer when we have more voices contributing. It just really is. And in my latest book, I don't think I mentioned, the race of my characters. And then when the promotional materials were being put together, I noticed that a lot of African American was inserted in order to make it evident, and explicit that this is a book about Black children. And it would be interesting.
Can you talk a little bit about your book that just came out? Because I know you had a gathering recently, and I received a copy, so I want to thank you for that.
Great. Well, we had our launch. It came out on February 28th, and we had our launch at the African Burial Ground National Monument, which is in Lower Manhattan, and it marks the site of the original African burial ground, which was operational in the 1600s up until about 1794, and they estimate that somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 enslaved and free African Americans were buried there when the colony, Dutch colony, and then the British colony, and then eventually became the city of New York. So I knew when I started writing, as I always do when I start writing, I sit down and I think, whose voices do we not hear? And in my mind, since I work with city kids, urban kids, I wanted to make sure that the young people that I see every day are represented in speculative fiction, so that they have fantasy and science fiction and horror and thriller and mystery, like all those elements in one book, but featuring a multicultural cast. And so one of my characters, Hakeem, he's a Black Muslim teenager. His father is from Senegal. His mother is Bangladeshi, so he's actually biracial. He's an excellent basketball player, but he's not doing so well in math, and so he's being tutored by one of the other characters, Dee. And Keem, has this amazing talent, and everybody thinks he's going to go straight into the NBA, and he's like, no, I'm going to graduate from high school, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to graduate from college, and then, if this basketball thing doesn't work out, I might decide to become a chef, I might open my own restaurant. And, I was really working hard to create the anti-stereotype, right? So here's a kid who, he's really good looking, he's really popular, he's really talented, but he also has these kind of secret ambitions, and he has a crush on a girl at school, Nyla, and, she grew up on a military base in Germany, and she's Afro-punk, she has a mohawk, so I really went out of my way to create, original characters. And then I had, one reviewer in Canada. There are only 2 review journals for children's literature in Canada, and this one reviewer said, Hakeem is a stereotypical Black jock. And I just thought, what? I thought, name some other Bangladeshi, Senegalese, basketball-playing Muslim teenagers who want to open their own restaurant. And that's really frustrating, but that's precisely why I write the books that I do, so that you can have these extraordinary kids. And I wrote Hakeem as a Muslim student because I was doing workshops with Behind the Book up in East Harlem, and I had a class of 6th grade students, and there were so many boys in that class, and they, some of them really needed one-on-one attention, and that was challenging for the teachers and the other adults in the room. But, their names were Hassan and Jamal and Abdu and Malik, and I just thought, where do we see Black Muslim kids in young adult lit? I don't see them that often, so let me write one. And that was kind of what got me started thinking about that kind of character for my book.
And how'd you come up with your title, Zetta?
Well, Social Souls. I don't know if you know, but when they were digging at Ground Zero, working on the new Liberty Tower, in the summer of 2010, they found a ship.
No, I didn't.
They found a ship buried underground, an 18th century 2-masted vessel that they think used to travel up the coast of the U.S. from the Caribbean. And it was either, a ship that was deliberately sunk in order to serve as landfill, or it may have already been, sinking, or they don't know exactly what happened to it. But I just thought, imagine that we have this horrific, traumatic event in New York City, and they start digging, and they find a ship from the 1700s. And I just thought, well, if you have a ship that's underground, there must be passengers underground. And of course, I already knew about the African burial ground, and then I found 2 cowrie shells, just about half a block from my house on the pavement. And I just thought, the ancestors are speaking to me. And here we have the passengers who are waiting for their ship, which will convey them, to the realm where there's peace. And I live next to Prospect Park, and there was a major battle of the Revolutionary War was fought in Prospect Park in 1776, the Battle of Long Island. And some of the American patriots were killed in what is now the park at Battle Pass. So I wove them into the story, and I wanted to write an urban fantasy, and I don't do werewolves and I don't do vampires. So, but I am a big fan of African American history, and wanted to make sure that the kids that live around here who walk past these monuments every day, that they could think of them in a way that was exciting and magical, and in a way where the past wasn't a burden. It wasn't something they had to feel ashamed of. It was something they could feel proud of, and then it's an adventure in the story. And so when I go to schools and I read an excerpt, it's just amazing to look up and see kids just hanging on your every word, and then they want to know what happens next. And when you get kids excited like that about literature, the next thing you know, they come up and one kid was like, I've already written the sequel to your book. And I thought, that's just amazing, that his imagination would be, again, ignited, and then he's ready to start telling his own stories. And that's what literature should do. It should not simply reflect the world you think you know, but, help you to imagine the world that's possible.
Right. And everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story to tell. Every single body.